And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. My very, 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 very special guest. Let's get us all caught up on what's up with the CIA, the Pentagon, the Obama administration. Post, we got Osama. We need help. Melvin Goodman is going to do that for us, senior fellow at the Center for International Policy. His most recent book, Failure of Intelligence, The Decline and Fall of the CIA. Melvin, I got you there?
Yes, Ernest. Good to be with you.
Thank you, Melvin. You know, I'm concerned about this shuffling in the Obama administration right before they made the announcement. You know, let's kind of get a chronology here. I get the impression that they had already had what they are releasing as the date that they got Osama. Later, a week later or so, they announced it. In the interim, they made some shuffling of people. And to what purpose? I mean, help me out. Who are these people? Are they political appointments?
What people are you talking about, Ernest?
I'm sorry?
What people are you talking about?
When we go to the CIA, we shift Leon Panetta. You know, we have David Petraeus. We have the shuffling of the people at the top in dealing with Secretary of Defense, CIA, we got Chief of Staff, we got, Gates going away. There's a shuffling, and I'm wondering for what purpose. Is it 2012 election, or they have another mission that they're preparing for other than the elections? What do you think?
I think you're looking for too extreme an explanation. I think the genuine explanation is much simpler than that.
Please.
Some of the changes that were made were due to the fact that incompetent people were in key positions. So you had to do something about General James Jones, who was the National Security Advisor, a retired Marine general. He wasn't up to that job, and after 2 years he was pushed out, but unfortunately replaced by a domestic political expert, not an international expert. That's Tom Danilin. So that's a net minus as far as I'm concerned. Then in the National Intelligence Council, the so-called intelligence czar, retired Admiral Dennis Blair wasn't up to the job, but he was replaced with a weaker retired Army General James Clapper. So again, that nets out as something negative. Now, the two changes you talked about were brought about because Bob Gates has made it clear, and this time he meant it, that he wanted to go home. He's been here long enough. He joined the Bush administration in 2006. He does a tremendous amount of traveling. I've heard from some mutual friends that we have that he's exhausted. So therefore, that forced a change at the Defense Department. And I think my problem with Obama is that he's so adverse to bringing in anyone from the outside. He doesn't want real change at the Pentagon. He doesn't want reform at the Pentagon. So he picked a very weak CIA director, Leon Panetta, who has not been useful at the CIA, to take over a much larger organization. The CIA is a rather small organization with a budget of $8 billion, employed about 16,000 people. Now he's taking over what is essentially a multinational conglomerate with a budget of over $800 billion and over 2 million people, counting the uniformed people, contractors, and civilians who work for the Department of Defense. I consider this a net minus as well. And then you had a weakness or an empty spot at the CIA that had to be filled. And here is where Obama has really gotten into trouble, because he put in General David Petraeus. I'm totally opposed to a military man running the CIA. The CIA was created correctly by Harry Truman to avoid military control of national security policy, to make sure we had a check on the worst-case analysis of the Pentagon that was designed for the most part to justify their exaggerated budgets over the last years, particularly the last 10, 15 years. Petraeus, to me, has never established any reason to think he could run the CIA. He's a tactical operative. He's not a strategist. He has no background in strategic policy or international policy. I think he's used to a chain of command environment, and the intelligence community, I spent 24 years at the CIA, works from an opposite directorate. direction. It's not top-down. It's bottom-up. And he's also strongly identified with policy issues where I think CIA analysts are going to disagree with him, particularly on whether we're having success in Afghanistan. He thinks we are. The CIA doesn't agree with that. What should be our policy in Iraq? And a whole host of problems dealing with terrorism. So Obama started very weakly with his national security team in 2009. It's gotten worse. But as my favorite philosopher, Garrison Keillor, says, it's going to get worse before it gets worse.
You know, that's a good way of putting it. And I wanted to leave it open for you to make these comments. I don't want to direct you in any way, but so let me get more specific now. Leon Panetta distinguished himself at the CIA in what manner for him to be considered, as I would perceive it, as a move up, as you say, to a much larger role in American defense, to be, you know, defense secretary. I'm wondering what he did that would warrant such a move. And is it, you know, he's more under control? And you say Obama wanted. Is it, I mean, do you really think it's Obama, or is there somebody else, you know, kind of influencing decisions that he makes? I mean, for this kind of decision, for Leon Panetta to go from CIA director, which is questionable he was there to begin with, to go to Secretary of Defense, was the CIA director position there just to give him some street cred to even be Secretary of Defense? It was a stretch for him to be CIA director. So I'm wondering what the reasoning there is, and of course you can't, you know, do away with the thought process that has something to do with re-election, because that's always their main focus, and also the timing of it. And when was this announced? I mean, it became common knowledge. Was it before or after the raid on Osama's?
Oh, before. It was a week ago. Today, actually. I think it was exactly 1 week ago, Wednesday, late Wednesday. It was in the Thursday newspapers. But let me answer your question.
But no, I mean, that's when they announced that they got Osama. I'm wondering when they actually did. It keeps changing.
No, I think you've got your chronology all screwed up.
Please, help me.
They got Osama just on Pakistani time, Monday morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, which was Sunday night our time, or Sunday afternoon our time. So that was done about 3 or 4 days after the announcement of these national security changes, which had nothing to do with the raid on Osama's residence and capturing and killing bin Laden. Well, I don't think we should confuse these issues by trying to merge them.
No, I'm just, you know, I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of.
I know you don't, but
I'm just trying to.
But I don't believe in conspiracy when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Well, campaigns are not necessarily conspiracy. These decisions are.
Most things that happen, I find, and I've been in Washington for 42 years, are what the British would call a cock-up rather than a conspiracy. But you did have a question that still needs to be answered, and that is the choice of Panetta.
Please.
I made it clear that Panetta was not the right choice for the CIA. He has not performed well by my standards at the CIA. He has surrendered to the operational community at the CIA, and he has abolished the internal oversight capability of the CIA. So those two things alone, I would say he wasn't even qualified to run this small organization compared to this very large organization. Two, he's established. I'm not saying just because you're in your 70s that you don't have stamina, but this is a tired bureaucrat. He's been in government a long time. He doesn't work a long day. His wife has refused to resettle on the East Coast. He goes home to California virtually. He had been going every weekend. I don't know about his most recent schedule. He's a part-timer as far as I'm concerned. But then the question is, so what in the world did the president see in him? And I think two things. And again, then the politics of this do get interesting. I don't think President Obama wants to take on the Pentagon. He doesn't want to take on the military that needs genuine reform and genuine change.
Not taking on the Pentagon. We're going to start right there when we come back with our special guest, Melvin Goodman. He was senior Soviet analyst at the CIA and the Department of State's Bureau of Intelligence and Research for a long time. He knows. And we're going to find out what he knows when we come back here on Declare Your Independence in just a little bit.